is the first time in the Globalist that we've actually had one of our Globalists return.
People do that, and so they form friendships. A lot of magic can happen. So.
Well, I supervised the making of kimchi.
As advertised, the Globalist is back this week with part 2 of our program with Penn State University professors Sam Richards, Lori Mulvey, and in our studio, there are 20 students who are here this week and just started a program with Korea's Konkuk University. Last week, we talked with the professors. This week, we include our 20 Penn State University students. So welcome everyone to the Globalists.
Do like thumb war and stuff like that, and like hugging and everything. Can you explain?
Explorer. She unlocked a new world.
I'm back on the news. 감사합니다. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for watching my show.
Names of the songs or the artists, they can put the computer graphics in.
Welcome everyone to the Globalists. I think it's the most number of people we've ever had in the studio as a whole. So you've been here for a few days now. It's been raining over the weekend, so you haven't been out much. But first impressions, what did you think?
I'm from Baltimore. I think the city's really nice. I think we've had a lot of fun experiences, and we even got to do a picnic last night by the river.
Oh, you went to Hangang River.
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought it was really beautiful. It reminds me a lot like from the Brooklyn Bridge of seeing New York from the skyline. I see lots of tall buildings, and it just makes me a warm feeling. I really think it's really pretty. So yeah.
I've heard if you go to a picnic at Hangang River, there's the whole waterfall thing, but you have to have ramyeon by the Hangang River. Did you get ramyeon?
Oh. We got like Korean fried chicken and soju and other stuff.
Yes,
yeah.
Yes. It's a thing to do. Korean fried chicken, soju, beer, and ramyeon by the Hangang River. That's the thing to do.
Hi. One thing that I found cool is like we got to meet our Korean buddies from Konkuk Daehakyo, and we went out with them together, and they kind of showed us around like Sonsu, where we went to go shop for a little bit, and like we also ate together some dinners. So they introduced to us some like new foods that was very interesting to me.
So you went to the hip part of town. You brought up the subject that I was going to ask. I mean, you have just been paired with Konkuk University students, the buddies. It's not been a long time, but how is it going?
Hello, my name is Julie. I'm from Pennsylvania. It's been an amazing experience. Like, we're able to already get along so well with each other that they're willing to show us to all these new places that at least are new for us. And they're including us in like a picnic, or like we went to like a bar together. And it's really cool to see how fast these friendships are already forming, even though it's only been like 1 or 2 days.
You've built quite a relationship with your buddy already. I mean, it's been 24 hours? So how has that relationship gotten so close so fast?
Well, I think one thing that definitely helps is we're all pretty much around the same age group. So a lot of our interests and hobbies are the same, even from different countries and cultures, especially with being the same generation. So I think that was more of the kickstart to help the bonds of our friendship with our buddies happen quicker than with just total strangers.
The common interest that sort of leads me into my next question is like, were there parts of Korean culture that you are already interested in that may have formed this bond? Do you watch Korean dramas? Do you listen to K-pop? I don't know, use Korean cosmetics? Do you have a relationship already with Korean culture?
So me and a few other students, I don't want to call them out because I don't know how to feel about it, but we're actually learning Korean. So like I'm be going into Korean 4 next semester. So we know a bit of the language and we're able to like communicate. Granted, it might be broken Korean, but like we're still able to communicate.
I heard someone say Kongguk 대학교. Yes, yes, very good.
We know like bits and pieces and we can hold conversations. And I think that's kind of like what really helped us. And that's like why we came here to like meet people that are native to the area and join and create like these long-lasting friendships, because like when we go back home we're still going to be kakao chatting them and like hanging out with everybody if we can. But I know some of us are into cosmetics and I was really into like the music because I love seeing like the production quality and how different it is from like American music videos. So I just have like a lot of fascinations, and like some of our group mates, like one of my friends, Jian, he's really into music, so like we bonded over that. So
I'm Kelly. I'm from Washington, D.C., but my minor's in Japanese, not Korean. But because I've been interested in East Asian culture, that I've looked more into Korea in the past couple years, and I started watching a lot of K-dramas, listened to K-pop, and so with my buddy and my other friends' buddies, I've like talked to them about K-pop stars and like their K-dramas and like cosmetics too. I've used only almost Asian cosmetics for like makeup, like blush and stuff. And we got to bond in the makeup store for to help me pick things out. Like it was really nice. So that's how I got.
For me, the first exposure I had to Korean media was watching Squid Games. And I loved it so much because it focused so much on like humanity and like human relationships. So it was something that I think any global population could relate to, and that's why I think it was so popular like everywhere. Yeah, I think that's also one of the reasons why I wanted to visit. So.
Squid Games is an interesting example.
Hey, so I have a question. So going to the buddy question, I'm watching you all interact with these other students from Kongguk, and you just met them, and yet there appear to be these really deep friendships already. Could you say a couple of the things about what you've experienced with the Korean students?
I really found about the Korean students is their kindness. Like most of the Korean students yesterday spent like most of their day with us. Although they had classes, they're still having their semester. They don't have like any holidays, but like they tried their best to spend like most of their time with us. So I think they're very kind, very friendly, and we enjoyed our time yesterday.
From what I've observed, they're very highly attentive to our needs. If we ever were concerned about anything or curious, they wanted to make sure that our interests were, that they got to help us out with that.
Good to hear.
Yeah, they were very eager to show us around and show us their favorite places. And I'm also one of the students who has been practicing and learning Korean for the past 2 years. So it was almost like a mutual benefit. I wanted to come to Korea to, learn about the culture and practice my Korean, and they wanted to practice English. So I could help them with English phrases. They could help me with Korean. So it was almost like a mutual connection that kind of helped us grow closer because with those common interests.
Want to let each other know how true some of the things, or not true, some of the things that we hear are.
Okay, so me, I hope that Americans really love hamburgers.
I work at a hamburger joint at school, and eat probably 2 to 3 a week. So
I'm gonna say like 9 times out of 10, every restaurant you go to, you can order a hamburger, no matter what cuisine.
That is true.
And there's a lot of vegans and vegetarians in the United States because America's just like a melting pot. So not everyone eats hamburgers.
All right, how about something else? Some other thing that you've heard. That was a nice start.
I heard that the Korean beauty standard is like very strict. Yeah.
Great. What can somebody tell
so
us?
the Korean beauty standard is very narrow, very strict.
When I hear about Koreans, I hear that the beauty standard is like very thin, pale skin.
Yeah, I agree a bit. These days, some people have abs and some people have they have no belly. So I want to lose my weight, and then I start diet like 3 days ago. Yeah, so even today I didn't eat anything.
I think it's a small country, and we all kind of look the same. So I think we have like similar makeup styles or like hairstyles. So like,
how is that different than the United States or similar?
So I guess it makes a little bit of sense. People in the U.S. are very independent, while I guess would be Koreans be more like social and like grouped together kind of thing, I guess.
So, is Korea what you expected it to be before you landed, or different?
Hi, I'm Mia. I would say that I knew Korea Seoul was a very safe city, but I didn't realize the amount of trust that they have with their citizens. Like, for example, we went to a photo booth studio yesterday, and it was like nobody worked there, and there was like props that you could easily walk out with, and that's something that could like probably never be done in America. So just seeing that was very interesting.
Yeah.
This idea of trust. There's a lot of trust here. And this kind of sense that, you trust that people will follow rules. You trust that people will be aware of other people around them. You trust that people, whether it's on the street or in any environment, will be thinking about or concerned about the needs that you have as well as their own needs. And I think that that's something that I wish we understood more of, in the United States. But I think last week, Lori and I were talking about this a little bit, about this difference, this kind of multiculturalism versus the homogeneity here.
People point that out when non-Koreans come and visit. They point out this fact, and it sort of surprises us in many times because we find this such it's a normal thing for us, It just never occurs to us to take anything out of the little basket they give you in the photo booths because it's not mine. Why would I take someone else's hairband with a little bunny, hat in it? It's something we take for granted, but we feel that it is for many people around the world, not just America, but for many countries around the world, not normal. And because we are we take it for granted, when we go to the States, we have to re-educate ourselves and get used to a different culture.
What's interesting here, and I think the students are going to learn this, is that Koreans will say, oh no, we've lost that trust, because you've heard 1 or 2 stories over the past year of someone who did something to break the trust. But we have those stories every day in our lives, right? So we're watching it happen all around us. So Koreans will say, oh no, we've lost that part of our culture. And I think, listen, you are far from losing that part of your culture. Yeah.
I had a niece from the United States that came and visited us, and she was very surprised at the fact that she could go out by herself, 11, 12 at night, go shopping by herself, and never think twice about carrying she said in the States she would carry a whistle.
Yeah.
She would never go out by herself.
My uncle just sent to me a necklace that has a really loud sound on it, and he says, wear this all the time and you'll always be safe. This is actually what I would love to hear from some of the students. Have you felt yet the depth of security yet that feels different than being at home?
So I actually came 2 days before the program started so I can get a feel for the city. as I've read upon, that it's very safe and everything like that. And I walked around Myeongdong for hours, the whole day. And not once did I ever feel that I had to look over my shoulder or worry about everybody else. The one thing that I liked personally was that everybody seemed to pretty much keep to themselves unless you were conducting like a business transaction or something. And that to me felt very good, because unfortunately there are some parts in the United States where you do feel like you have to watch who's around you. And not once being here, especially by myself, have I ever felt that.
Can someone else speak to that? Farah, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Farah, and I'm from New York City, and it's a lot different from Seoul. So in New York, it's a lot more dangerous, and you do have to look over your shoulder and be very cautious. I've had, negative interactions in New York City, but in Seoul, I haven't had that. I haven't felt like afraid. I didn't feel like I needed to clutch my bag and look around, and it's very safe.
What's it like not to have to do that normal gesture of protection?
Clutching your bag.
It's very odd because most of the time I do have to be very cautious and, be aware of my surroundings. But here I haven't had to. I've been able to relax and just, enjoy my time here.
Hi, my name is Kenna, and I'm also from Pennsylvania. Without having to feel like there's a lot of danger here, it almost feels freeing. So we're here for about 2 weeks for the program, so it's a short time, so we want to experience all of Seoul that we can in this little time, and having that freedom here is just makes it more comfortable to go and explore and see everything. So back at home, it's kind of limiting what you can do just because some places are more dangerous than others, but here there's no limitations. Everything is safe, so you can go and explore and do everything that you want here without that limitation.
I can attest to that just because I go between New York City, Baltimore City, and Philly a lot. So I know when I'm there, I am always looking over my shoulder and constantly looking at the people who are around me or just walking past me. It's a normal reaction, but when I'm here or when I've been here so far, it's just felt nice not having to do that.
How do you know it's different here?
At least when I'm at home, I feel sometimes you get the look across the street and you're that's a little suspicious, or you see something that's a little suspicious, stuff like that. But here, I haven't had that experience.
I would agree with what everyone's saying that at home, I feel especially as girls, we were allowed to walk around last night, and I didn't feel once I had people watching me or following us. And I think that I'm from outside of DC, and there's always a lot of people following or watching, and that's kind of something here that I haven't felt once unsafe walking alone at night as a girl. And I think that that's really something in the United States that's very talked about constantly, that as a girl you should not be outside and in the dark by yourself. And my parents don't even like me getting gas at night by myself, and I'm always I'm fine, but it's a real thing. And I think that here I've kind of noticed that that's something I haven't felt that I needed to worry about.
It's too normal for us. So we're a little surprised when people feel this change.
If you travel, and you travel a lot and you go to many cities, and whenever you go to a city in the United States, you feel different.
It's the same other way around. When I go to the States, I remember to always lock my car. Because, in Korea, okay, you normally lock your car, but if you don't lock your car, that's also fine.
Yeah.
You sort of lock it because you can, but, you don't really think about being aware of your surroundings. And again, in the States, as a woman, you have to always be where you don't go out at night. Public transport is also very difficult to take as a woman by yourself.
The other day I went to the spa, and the key and the lock didn't work on the spa, and I had my wallet and my cell phone. I put it in there and it wouldn't work, and so it was open, and I said, but I'm in Korea. It's okay. And I just left. I left it there. I would never do that in
And it was there when you got back?
Yeah, when I got back, of course. Yeah, it wasn't even a question.
I think maybe a final question would be, it's only been a couple of days with the system and just a couple more days since you've been to Korea. But this kind of, we call it inyeon, which is a sort of a fate that you now have with Korea. How many of you think that will lead to your having a relationship with Korea, whether in coming to Korea for study? Because there are many non-Korean students, American students in my graduate course. Maybe you would come to Korea to study, maybe do business with Korea, come to Korea to tour more often. How many of you think this is sort of the start of a relationship with Korea? Wow. Awesome, I guess, is the word that you do.
Seokyoung, well, how about you? Like, what's the advantage of chopsticks?
In Korea, like we eat food with rice.
Yeah.
And so we have to put things on the rice. It's easier when we eat like that.
Here we go, my friends. You got to move them from one plate to the other as fast as you can. Are you ready? Go. Oh, okay. Here we go. And with using salt, it's really good for your gut. Anyone want to try it? Someone? Wait, bro. Dude, hang on. How?
그리고 뒤를 잠깐 돌아보면 이렇게 댕기라는 머리를 했는데 결혼하지 않은 여인들이 하는 머리입니다. 저는 결혼을 해서 댕기 머리가 아닙니다.
KakaoTalk, you have lots more feature like KakaoTalk, Kakao Pay.
Yeah.
And even you can even present something like gift to your friends.
Professor Sam and Laurie, I mean, what is the real benefit for having this kind of really one-to-one personal relationship bonding between students of different cultures?
Humanization is the one word. It's so important in life to meet people and go beyond our objectification of each other, which we can't do anything other when we don't know someone, right? But once we have a knowledge of a person, a knowledge of a place from our own experience, it changes everything for us. They become subjects, and that is a deep educational moment for us when we actually realize that we are not the subject of life. Everybody is the subject of their own life, and so changing from object to subject is core for education on all levels and for the world. So that's the essence.
It's the foundation of empathy, really being able to walk alongside of other people and seeing that in the end, we're mostly the same. And, there's genetics does this kind of trick on us because a very tiny fraction of our DNA is related to our external appearances, 0.01%, and that we are really the same regardless of what we look like. And cultures are essentially composed of the similar ingredients. And so once you see that and once you make these connections, it's game changing. And for young people, to have an experience like this, it will impact the rest of their lives. And this is kind of, I think, one of the important goals of Laurie and I in the work that we do.
But I have to add, though, that similarity is only one side of the coin. It's also, and maybe more important, maybe they're just as important, but recognizing that people can be different than us and still value and respect that and understand what makes that possible. To me, whether you find similarities or you find differences, but you can appreciate and recognize the humanity of all of that, that's where I think you become a world citizen, and we need them.
And here we are on the Globalists. So
yes, a true globalist.
With you and your career, the incredible career that you have had, explaining the world to people around the world. You are the quintessential globalist, and so that's why we're so honored to be in your program.
Well, I'm honored that you would say so. But I think also today, as you both and all of our students have proven, we are all teachers. And we can all learn from each other, and we have learned from you and have been honored to have all of you on our program today. I hope this is not the only return you have, and this is the start of a wonderful relationship that you all have with Korea and the globalists.
Yeah,
Thanks for
thank
having
you.
us.
Thank you. And that's it for me on this special edition of The Globalists. I will be back next week with another globalist who is putting Korea on the map. Sun Ji out.
Fire on it. To me.
감사합니다. 수고하셨습니다.